Nothing like a brisk dip to start the day. Now where on God's arse am I?
If you've been a fan of games such as Titan Quest, Torchlight or Diablo, a fan of the action role-playing game genre, you'll be excited to know that Grinding Gear Games has been working for some time now on a game called Path of Exile. Path of Exile is very much a game I've been following and initially previewed during closed beta. Recently, it went into a state of open beta, and in many ways this will be similar to release, as they stated nothing from this point forward will be wiped. But keep in mind, beta is beta. Path of Exile is a multiplayer-only, free-to-play game with a heavy focus on customization. So the question here, of course, is Path of Exile worth playing?
Come no closer, witch. I've had my fill of your kind.
Path of Exile starts off with picking one of 6 classes, and for some reason or another, they've all been exiled to the island of Rayclast. You don't learn much about the background of the class you pick, and in many regards picking a class does little for the story, except some dialogue changes. Rayclast, however, is a dark and brutal continent, and it doesn't take long for you to find this out. The game immediately throws you onto the shores of Rayclast, and it's off to kill some zombies. You're not some chosen hero on a quest to save the world, no, you're exiled to one of the harshest islands that you now have to make as your new home. Your home to rot and die in, or fight over to control. The story is nothing that will blow you away, but it does a good job to settle you into the world you're in, and it gives you a bit of motivation to go and beat up anyone that looks funny at you, if you honestly need any. Every quest you pick up is now, unlike earlier in the closed beta, voice acted, and there is a clear guidance of the story as you go along.
It's why God sent us maggots here, isn't it?
Grinding Gear Games mentioned they wanted to go for dark, and they weren't kidding, as the atmosphere in Path of Exile has a very grim and sinister look to it all, and the environments look pretty amazing. You of course start on a coast, and this first act is then predominantly filled with wreckage, and your main base is but a small makeshift outpost. Nothing that will really blow you away, but as you continue further, you'll end up in a ruined and war-torn city. On your way there, you'll enter some amazing locations, with each a great and mostly woeful atmosphere. From the lush forests in Act 2, to the gloomy and disquieting dungeons you enter as you hear the sounds of screams with the brittle of bones in the distance, and fiery figures looming in the dark. Primates will climb down from trees so they can give your skull a good bashing, and spiders can come up from the depths as they attempt to ambush you. All the while, you won't find corpses lacking in the places you enter. You go through these having to rely on makeshift equipment, heck, most of the time, you aren't even wearing pants. All in all, it's nice and menacing, but it does make it so that allies are a bit hard to spot among all the chaos. Not really a big deal, as chances are throwing more fireballs into the mix is only going to improve things, but a little confusing regardless. Guiding you through these locations is of course your trusty map, though in Path of Exile it's not hugely trustworthy and is needlessly cluttered most of the time. It can be placed in the top corner of your screen and also has the iconic map overlay option, but this isn't pretty to look at, and nor does it differentiate between items enough, such as stairs looking like walls or entire pathways appearing to be blocked. For the most part, it does the job, but it isn't anything to boast about. In short, Path of Exile's story isn't anything special, but it does the job. At the same time, it holds a fantastic atmosphere with impressive environments and solid, crazy enemy designs.
I tell you to come to Sam, and here you are. Put the stray puppy down, boys.
In an action RPG, gameplay is of course the key element, and straight away Path of Exile does do something wrong here. When looking at the raw combat in the game, it is impossible to cancel animations. Meaning that, especially at earlier levels, combat can be very sluggish and a tad unresponsive. This does significantly improve once you get more cast or attack speed, but regardless it slows the combat down and is a major bother when you are playing the otherwise fantastic and visceral combat Path of Exile contains, that beyond this is really solid, but this does undermine the gameplay. The way you do combat in the first place, ranging from melee to ranged and spellcasting, or a mix thereof, depends on your skills. As I mentioned, there are 6 classes in the game, but these don't limit you in a huge extent. They are divided between the 3 main attributes in the game: dexterity, strength and intelligence. But skills aren't learned and aren't limited to whatever class you may choose. Instead, skills are found. They come in the form of skill gems. These are either found randomly or given to you from quest rewards. The selection of which specific skill gems you can get from quests does depend on your class, however. You then insert these skill gems into sockets on items and gear, and these then allow you to do a variety of things, such as holding enemies in elaborate traps as you choke them in poison and rain arrows on top of their heads, or my personal favorite, creating zombies out of all kinds of creatures, such as skeleton birds or weird Journey-esque ribbon monsters. In addition to these are so-called support gems, and these then change the way your skills work in the first place. This system gives you a lot of freedom to focus on whatever you like best, and this is all centered around one major aspect of the game, the passive skill tree. This huge passive skill tree is hugely important in the way you build your character, and is the main reason customization is such a big focus. Initially, it might look a little intimidating for those new to action RPGs, but you'll soon realize this is absolutely wonderful, as it offers huge opportunities for different builds and theory crafting. And the only way you are limited here is that classes start on different locations within the skill tree. Beyond this, you can go out and make some incredibly silly and not necessarily effective builds. And it really allows you to focus on a specific game style you want to have. Once you get the hang of it, it isn't hugely complex, and yet it offers so much depth to the game. Another big aspect of action RPGs is of course the ever so lovely loot, and Path of Exile still very much has the iconic everything explodes out of chest thing, but a major difference here is that it has no money. Instead, everything you buy or sell is done through the use of materials. But these materials are also used to upgrade gear and change it in a way that suits you best. It is quite refreshing from the otherwise neglectable gold currency, and basically makes it so that materials are always useful in one way or another. Beyond this, loot is as you'd expect, with random gear drops and a ton of interesting items, some of which seem to be specifically used with niche passive skill builds. Except for these features, Path of Exile is very much a classic action RPG, with randomly generated maps, though key elements of the map are often in more or less the same place, and this system does have one really annoying mechanic, where it will completely reset your level progress after a number of minutes if you aren't there. So if you forget to make a portal near a zone and you happen to perish, you might find you have to redo some zones in front of it, as you have to clear it once more of monsters and find the dungeon area you are looking for. Not to mention, if you just wait too long, the portal will disappear as well. This is just plain annoying at times, and it would be better if they can merely reset upon joining a party, logging out, or after a set amount of levels cleared. Right now it can happen that you die in level 3 of a dungeon and have to start finding a completely new way there, as levels 1 and 2 have reset, only to find out the third is also reset by the time you get there. Dungeons and maps can be done solo or with up to 5 other players, and the difficulty of the monsters seems more than capable, with currently 4 difficulty levels, though they present a good challenge already on the lowest normal difficulty, with packs of monsters that synergize well together and can kill you in seconds if you're not careful. Except for this, it is pretty much what you'd expect of an action RPG, although it also includes PvP, though in its current form this is neither fun, not at all balanced, and really forgettable. But backing up all of this free-to-play and excellent dungeoneering is of course a microtransaction system. And I must say I was quite positively shocked by how fair this model seems to be. It seems they really went out of their way to avoid any sense of pay to win. You luckily can't buy items or anything of the sort. Instead, you can buy a plethora of aesthetic changes, ranging from item glows to completely changing the way a spell looks. Beyond this, you can buy some convenience upgrades, such as a bigger stash, but you already have a ton of room with different tabs to use. This makes buying anything very much optional and serves really just to further customize your character in a cosmetic way. It is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most customer-friendly free-to-play models I've seen in a while. As I said, Path of Exile is very much an old action RPG in many ways, and a good one at that, but as such, if you're looking for innovation in an action RPG, you likely won't find much of it here. The inventory is still based on playing the Arrange the Squares game. There's no way to quickly sell loot with, say, a pet. Really, in many ways, Path of Exile is a step back. It's really good at taking a step back, but if you're looking for innovation within the genre, you won't find a lot of it here. If instead you're looking for a really solid, classic-styled action RPG with tons and tons of depth, Path of Exile is an absolute gem. With that being said, I've been Haas from Haas Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next re or preview. Now, if you don't mind, I got some more monsters to zombify.